So I would just like you guys to keep an eye on this because we can't generally create applications for each and every platform. What we need to do is we need to pick and choose that how we can cover major market share. If we are able to cover even 60% of the market share, it would be really great. So if we'll have a look, if we pick Tizen, WebOS, Android TV, Fire OS, and let's say some of the other OSs, we are easily covering close to 60% of the market share. Also, if you'll have a look, Apple TV, it has just 2.7% of the market share. So I do get a lot of questions that how to build applications, TV applications for Apple TV. So I guess this is the answer. It's just 2.7%. So it can be sort of neglected for a time because we can share on the, we can focus on the major market share. So what we'll do from next is that we'll try to have a look on every operating system that how we can quickly build the application for that particular operating system. Close. So the very first which I would like to talk about is the Android TV. There are two reasons. It's pretty easy to convert your existing mobile application which you have built for Android to Android TV. So it becomes a low hanging fruit. Now, a few close pointers. It exactly works on Android OS. It obviously works with the official Flutter SDK, so you don't need to change anything in your Flutter SDK. It also generates the app bundle file just like the mobile. Also, most of the plugins which we are using in the mobile applications can be reused for our TV application as well. And we can also use the Android TV emulator, which is available on Android Studio, to test our application. So it mostly looks like the same. There are a few basic changes which I need to do in the configuration file of the uh, TV application. That is what we'll have a look at. So, yeah, so these are the basic changes which I need to do inside my TV application and specifically in the manifest file. So, we all know that viewing experience for mobile and TV is completely different. In mobile, we have a single source of view that, okay, if I'm watching a content piece, it's just that one content piece I'm watching. In mobile, in TV, there is a wide view. So the first thing which I need to do is I need to define or declare a TV activity inside manifest.xml. If you can see it on line number 3, that is the first thing which I need to do. Second thing which I need to do is I need to add a banner, because just like we have app icons in mobile applications, similarly we have banners for TV. So that is the second thing which I need to add. Third is something which I need to update the build.gradle, because TV applications support minimum Android SDK version of 21 and plus. So you need to make sure that that configuration is done for your application. And the last thing which I need to do is I need to add specific features for Android TV. And those features are, the first thing is I need to make sure that I add a feature named Android Software Leanback. That is the feature which enables the TV viewing experience. That is the first thing. And the second thing is I need to add the touchscreen option as well. So both these options I need to make sure they are optional, because the same manifest file I'll be using for creating the mobile application as well and TV application as well. So if I'm giving it optional while creating the build, the compiler will make sure that whenever it is required for TV, it will pick that. Whenever it is not required, it will skip that. So that is what I need to do. So this is the change which I need to do. These are the basic changes. If you do it and create the build, your mobile application build will officially start supporting the TV platforms as well. And you can check it while by testing it on the, maybe on the internal testing or beta testing. It will be available over there. I also added a QR code if you want to add more features to it. For example, there can be multiple features on top of this which you would like to add on the Android TV application, be it Chromecast support, be it supporting your Bluetooth devices and all that. So you can have a look at this over there. So this is what about the Android TV was. Now, next comes Fire OS, which is by Amazon. So again, very simple, very little changes required, almost same as Android. So it works on Android OS. It obviously officially supports Flutter SDK as well. It also generates a APK just like Android. Now, There is a small caveat that some of the plugins might not work with FireOS, or else they might work, but when you are releasing the application, your application might not be released because FireOS doesn't officially support those plugins. So you might have to either remove those plugins, or you'll have to use the official plugins supported by FireOS, or you'll have to figure out an alternative. So that is a small caveat which is there with Amazon Fire TV. Now, Fire TV also provides you a specific required configuration for creating emulators, so it becomes pretty easy to test your applications on Fire TV as well. You just need to add those configurations to the Android Studio's emulator configuration, and then it would be available by default for you. So this is about the Fire TV. As I have mentioned, there are a few limitations of FireOS. So, but FireOS has a small audience share as well. So it can be a nice trade-off to just work upon them. So as I mentioned, few of the Firebase plugins might not work because there is a catch Firebase, Google, and then Amazon. So it generally happens like that as itself. They might ask you to add their native payments in order to support the application release, and then they might also ask you to add their own native ad policies in order to release the application. So this is a very small caveat which is there in FireOS. You can create the applications, but once you go towards the release cycle, it becomes a slightly problematic thing. But yeah, that's how you can do it. So I've also added a QR code here. With this, you can have an entire sort of list of what all requirements are there for releasing the application. But creating the application, it's fairly simple. It's just like Android. So we have covered two operating systems. Next is Tizen OS. Now, again, a large market share is available with this operating system. It's a Linux-based operating system. Now, for this particular thing, just because it's a Linux-based operating system, Flutter SDK doesn't work. So what Tizen team has done is they have forked the official repository, and then they have created a custom repository of Flutter, and it's available and supports the latest Flutter version as well. So that is what you'll have to use. You'll have to use a custom Flutter SDK for this particular operating system. It supports the latest Flutter SDK. It generates the Tizen APK file, which is TPK file. Again, a small caveat with the plugins that not all the plugins are supported. Most of the official plugins which are supported by Flutter, they are available, just like video players and connectivity and all the Flutter community plugins which are there, they are available here as well. And then they have all the available emulators, and Samsung TV can be configured with this particular emulator. So you can start using that. So now, since we have to use specific Flutter SDK for Tizen, so we'll make sure that we learn about what all requirements are there for the Tizen OS. So the first requirement is that your Tizen device needs to have a minimum Tizen 6 version. That is the very first requirement. Second is that you need to install Flutter Tizen. So they have a official SDK available on their GitHub repository. You can fork it and start using that. It's exactly same as Flutter SDK. Just the basic change is that whenever I'm writing Flutter commands, for example, I'm writing Flutter run or Flutter build, here you'll have to write Flutter Tizen and then start using those commands. So it's just the prefix which is changing. The rest everything is same. So that's how you'll have to do it. Now, as I was speaking about the commands, so here are the few example commands which are there. It will look exactly similar to you, because if you have used Flutter, it looks exactly the same. Flutter Tizen Doctor, Flutter Tizen devices. So it's just the prefix which has changed. So that is how you can use these commands. Now, for testing Flutter applications on Samsung, there is a specific requirement. You'll have to create a certificate with the help of their certificate manager in order to make sure that you are able to test those applications on the Samsung devices. Once you have created that certificate, you can use the Flutter Tizen run command to run that particular application either on their emulator, or you can directly run on the Samsung TV as well. If you have one, you can start using that as well. And for creating the actual build, again the command is Flutter Tizen build, and then you can create the TPK with that help of that particular thing. and then if you want to install it, the command is flutter tizen install. That is what you can use. Cool. So that was about uh, Tizen. Now, one of the major players in the market for TV is WebOS, right? WebOS, which is with LG. So, WebOS is basically again a Linux-based operating system. Uh, it works with official SDK. I won't say it officially supports the Flutter official Flutter SDK, but you can have your you can try it out, and it definitely works. I'll also speak about that. What is the process? And in future, LG is also planning to sort of ship their own custom SDK, just like Tizen had, so that it will become very easy for us developers to build the applications. Again, we can release, as of now, we can release the web apps. If we create a web app with the help of Flutter, and on the LG wrapper, we run it inside the web application. And since it's a web application, we'll have to use all the web plugins. We can't use the native plugins. We'll have to use the web plugins. And you can use the web OS simulator, or else you can use the LG TV as well for running the application. Now I'll quickly show you a probable way to create the web applications for LG. So what we can do is we can basically download the WebOS tools from the Node Package Manager. That is what we'll use for this particular option. Then we'll have to generate a basic application with the help of Ares generate command. Now we'll have a basic web application in place. Now what we'll do is, inside the web folder of our Flutter application, there is a folder for every operating system. So inside the web folder, what we can do is, I'll create an icons folder, and then inside the icons folder, I'll place these two icons. These are the basic configurations which are required for the creation of the application. Then what I'll do is, the app which I generated, I'll copy that folder inside my web folder. So this is the third step which I need to do. The fourth step is, I need to add the app info.json. So this is the basic content of the app info.json which I will require. And if you can see in the app info.json, what I have done is I have added the links to all those icons which I have used. So that is the fourth step which we'll have to do. The last step which I'll have to do is the basic thing where I'll have to update my index.html, which Flutter uses. So inside my index.html, I'll have to add the link to that JS which was provided to me with the help of the application. So this is something which I'll have to do. Once I'm done with this, I'll be back to the basic steps, just how we create the applications for WebOS. So I'll write flutter build web, and then I can use the launch command for the application. Here, areas launch 24 is the OS version, and I'll provide the link which is build/web. So that is how I can use this. So this is a this is the method which we can try out. It might work sometimes, it might not work sometimes, because there is a lot of chaos in terms of which plugin is being supported, which plugin is not being supported. But as a developer, you can definitely sort of try it out, and if there are any bugs, you can fix that. So this is the, I would say, unofficial way which we can do it. What LG is planning in future is, just as I mentioned, that they are planning to launch a official SDK of Flutter, just like Tizen had. So with the help of that particular official SDK, our lives will become very, very easy. And just like all the Flutter commands, we'll also have the commands for LG TVs as well. As you can see in the example, all the commands which were available for Tizen and basic Flutter web will be available here as well. Same Flutter Web OS run, Flutter Web OS build, and all these commands will be available in future. We also have sort of people representing from LG over here. So after this talk, you can definitely speak to them for more details on this particular thing. The best part of the upcoming release, which I feel about the Flutter SDK, which is being built by LG, is that they will be definitely supporting DRM, which is the digital right management for video player. Because if you are building anything related to video streaming, the privacy and security of the video is very, very important. So if the support to DRM is there inbuilt, it would be really, really great. Great. Now, next is the tvOS. So as we discussed, it is just 2% of the market share of the overall operating system businesses. And the Problem with this particular OS is when we compare it to the Android, for Android, mobile and TV operating system is same. It's just Android. But when it comes to TV OS, it's not exactly the same as iOS, right? Just because Apple, they have every other sort of device has a different OS. So now it becomes a problem for us because now I can't directly use my iOS application for TV. I can't directly do that. So again, there is a custom SDK path which is available for us. We can make some changes in the Flutter SDK, fork it, make changes in the custom SDK and start using that. So this is the process which is available, and there is a link to the blog which I have mentioned over here in the QR code. It has a detailed explanation in terms of how I can build Flutter applications for iOS. It's a long process, can't be covered in the simple talk. So I have added a QR code over there. So great, we have almost covered sort of all the operating systems, and seems like we are done. But just launching the app is not enough, right? Because if it's a TV application, people will interact with it, right? People will definitely try to interact with the application. So what all things are important? The very first thing as a developer, which is important, is how can I detect which platform I'm running the application on? Because there is a platform class which is available in Dart. What it tells you is which platform I'm running the app on. Now, for Android TV, if I'll ask what is the platform, it will give me Android. For mobile application, if I'll ask the platform, it will give me Android. So how do I differentiate it? So I have basically thought of a very simple class over here, which is it detects platform. Also, we can pass a flag which is TV mode on or off. So with the help of these two flags, I can easily detect that, okay, is my application running on TV and Android OS? Is my application running on TV and not on Android OS? So I'll be able to easily differentiate with that. So that is something which we can definitely do. Now, the second thing which is really important or problematic, I can say, for a developer is the user interaction, because all the TV applications or all the TV operating systems have a tendency to create their own remotes, right? So some remotes has trackpad, some remote have like a joystick and whatnot. But as a developer, I need to make sure that I cover everything and I support everything. So what Dart supports is something like a Dartpad navigation. So there are three major components to it. One is D-pad navigation, one is enter button, and one is the back return button. So if you guys have used something like a JavaScript, or if you guys have worked on based on the click events on any of the applications, similarly we can work on this as well. Every key press event has a code attached to it. For example, enter might have code number 19, or left, right, up, down might have 18, 17, 16, 18. So on every key press event, we can detect the key code, and based upon that key code, we can perform the actions. So just like we had tap events in basic Flutter widgets, here also on the key press event, we can get the key code, and based upon that key code, we can perform the actions. So that is what we'll have to do. Yep. Now the last thing, which is really important in terms of TV applications, is the focus. You might have seen that it's not something which we touch. We use it with the help of a remote. So there is one point of contact which is there between a user and TV application, which is the focus, which is there on the TV application, right? Whichever application we are using, maybe if I'm using a OTT app or any other app, there is one focus which is highlighting on the TV. That is what we use to interact. So what exactly the focus is? So focus is basically the deciding widget which tells you on the TV that, okay, this is something which is currently selected. So there are 4 to 5 major important concepts which we need to know about focus. The first is the focus node. So focus node is something which you can consider as a invisible pointer on your TV application, which tells Flutter that, okay, this is something which is currently highlighted. So it is focus node. Next is focus widget. Focus widget, exactly as I told you, that the widget which is currently being highlighted on the TV application, which user if presses enter or does any interaction, the interaction will happen with that particular widget. The next thing is focus tree. So what Flutter does is, on the backend, it creates all the widgets which are there with the focuses. It creates a tree out of it. So that is what focus tree is called. Then we have a primary focus. the node which has the current focus is known as the primary focus. And then the last thing is, which is focus scope. So focus scope is basically something which is, there can be multiple layers of widgets which are there in my application. Just imagine a application like YouTube. So there are multiple lines of widgets which are going on. So I might have a requirement where I need to contain my focus. If I'm going next, I don't want my focus to be lost somewhere. I need to contain it inside a widget itself. So that is why I'll be using the focus scope over here. So these are the few important sort of focus classes which I'll have to use in order to implement focus. And then with the help of all these things, what I can do is I can design my TV application in a much better way. How? For example, if I know where is my current focus, I can add some extra design element to it. Maybe I can add extra border to it. I can add some colors to it if I know where is the current focus. So for that, we have the method available inside Dart itself, which is focus of context dot has focus. If it says true, it means that particular widget has the focus, and if I want to do any design changes on that particular widget, I can definitely do that. And then on top of it, there are other methods also available. For example, on focus change, on key event. So on with the help of all these methods, we can basically make sure that all the remote events which are happening with which user is doing with the help of remotes, if the user clicks on any focus, if the user changes any focus, we can listen to those focus change events over here and then perform actions on top of it. So this is how we can make sure we implement that as well. Cool. So so that was pretty much it about the entire TV market and all the major operating systems which are available in the market. I would be definitely up to for discussion on any specific operating system if you guys want to discuss after the talk. But yeah, that's what's all about this particular talk. Thank you.